Hello YouTube. In many of my videos I'm talking about young people and teenagers having more rights, having more freedom, being more independent, being able to do more in this world, as that is my main thrust with this YouTube account. In this video I'm going to be talking about teen celebrities, in particular Megan Fox. She'll be my main focus of discussion, although I will mention others. And it's about teen celebrities having freedom and being independent. Now, I had this high school math teacher, and he had this sign on his wall. It said, "Hey kids, sick and tired of being harassed by your stupid parents? Act now. Move out, get a job, pay your own bills, while you still know everything." Now what I have to say about that is, well, yeah, teenagers should, at least some teenagers, should be able to do exactly as that sign says, and there's some teenagers who probably are better off doing exactly as the sign says. You know, if they don't get along with their parents, they're not doing well living at their parents' home and all that. Now, teen celebrities in particular would have no problems doing just that. People such as Hilary Duff, when she was a teenager, she'd have no problem doing exactly what it said on my math teacher, the sign on my math teacher's wall. She'd have no problem doing exactly as that sign said. And same thing with Lindsay Lohan, and she did it. Lindsay actually, before she turned 18, she bought her own house. Now I know that Lindsay has gotten in trouble and that at the time of this video she's actually doing some jail time, but you know, she's a human being. We all make mistakes. Before we start pointing the finger at Lindsay, we should take a look at ourselves. We're not perfect either. And Taylor Lautner, he's another teen megastar who's made big bucks on that Twilight movie. He'd easily be able to afford to live on his own. And of course Megan Fox, and that's who I'm talking about in this video. Now, I know some people are saying even if a teenager does have enough money to live on their own, even if a teenager is able to make 5-6 figures a year or more, as is in the case with these Hollywood stars, do they have the experience to live in the real world? Well, the only way to get experience living out in the real world is by living out in the real world. You got to start somewhere, got to start sometime. You know, that's the only way you're going to get that experience. Teenagers have to realize the power that they've got. Teenagers, they're not little kids. They're physically, mentally, they're developed more, they're able to think more, they're able to use their minds. And in the old days, teenagers actually did survive on their own out in the real world. Nowadays, it's because, well, in most cases, you're going to have a college degree to make a living, and that takes time. So, you know, most teenagers just don't have the kind of marketable skills you need today to live on your own. You're not going to make a living working at McDonald's for minimum wage. You know, but teen celebrities with Hollywood stars, they of course do have the money they need to live on their own. Now, as for Megan Fox, I've searched the web and I've read about her, and Wikipedia was one of my main sources of information, not my only source. And I know, of course, that Wikipedia can't necessarily be trusted. It's not the most reliable source. But this is what I've learned from Wikipedia and from some other sources, that when Megan Fox was a very young child, like a baby or a toddler, I'm not sure exactly when, that her biological dad divorced the mom and left the family, and that her mom, Darlene Tonaccio, she married this fellow Tony Tonaccio, and who became Megan's stepdad, and that's who she grew up with, her mom and her stepdad Tony. Now, I don't know the details, but from what I've read about it, her mom and stepdad, I guess particularly her stepdad, they were very strict. Megan Fox was not allowed to have a boyfriend, not allowed to have friends at the house, practically grounded all of her childhood, as her mom said that, in some interview I read on the internet, that poor Megan, as the mom puts it, poor Megan, she was grounded for silly stuff. That's another other words that her mom used, silly stuff. She'd mess up before the grounding was over, so they just extend it. Now, her mom, who says she loves Megan dearly, referred to her as poor Megan because she was always grounded and for silly stuff. I don't see why her mom would have supported that if you know, the mom said that, you know, poor Megan, and that it was silly stuff that she was being grounded for. I don't think her mom particularly agreed with that. You know, the only conclusion I can draw is that her stepdad, Tony, he was very dominating. Now, as far as not being allowed to have a boyfriend or have friends over at the house, Parents could, of course, it is possible to sneak a friend at the house when the parents aren't home or whatever, but for the most part, parents do control what goes into the house, what doesn't. So, yeah, she would not, I could see how her parents would be able to not allow her to have friends at the house, which would include a boyfriend. But as far as having a boyfriend at all, I don't see how her parents could have had any control over that. Supposedly, Megan did have problems with authority, and I don't really blame her. Strictness, it breeds rebellion. When parents or anyone else, when they're overly strict, people are going to rebel. And I wouldn't, no doubt Megan, actually I know that Megan Fox did have boyfriends. So, yeah, they could have kept her from bringing a boyfriend into the house, but having a boyfriend, period, I mean, she supposedly got along well with the boys at school and all that, so from what I know, that I think at the age of 17, some sources say 15, but I think it's 17, that is when she actually stopped going to school and moved to Los Angeles to pursue her acting career. And it was around that time when she had her first major role in that movie Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, where she co-starred with Lindsay Lohan, and of course later on she became really famous off the Transformer movies. But she didn't finish high school. She didn't even get her high school diploma, which she doesn't really need to because she's a Hollywood star. And that's what she always wanted to do, was be an actor. So at 17, that's when she was living on her own. But even before that, I know she did have a boyfriend, this fellow high school sweetheart, Ben Leahy, and here's a picture of them together. They look really nice together. Ben, he was one lucky guy, and here's another picture of them. I apologize, this one's a bit blurry. It's not as good as the first one, but that's Ben and Megan together. And so there she has it. She had a boyfriend, and this is when she was still at high school, apparently still living with her mom and stepdad. And I also heard that this Ben Leahy guy, that she was dating him for 3 years before they broke up. Now, Megan Fox, now she's enjoying her freedom. She's married to some older gentleman. And they actually started dating when she was 18, the guy that she is married to now. And so that would have meant that if she broke up with Ben at the age of 18 and hooked up with this fellow who she's married to, that would have meant that, and she was dating Ben for 3 years, that would have meant that she would have started dating him at 15, if you do the math, 15 to 18, then she's dating Ben, she breaks up with him, hooks up with this other guy, this older fellow who, he's got a 8-year-old child of his own from a previous marriage, and they're married now. She started dating him at 18, so that would have meant since the age of 15 she was dating this Ben guy. So obviously they didn't, those restrictions that her mom, or particularly I would say her stepdad Tony, tried to put on her, saying she couldn't have a boyfriend, it didn't work. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Tony. You're not going to be able to control whether your stepdaughter has a boyfriend or not. That's personal, private stuff. You're just not going to stop teenagers from doing stuff like that. Stepdads can sometimes, I know not all stepdads are like this, but some can be absolute jerks. You just can't let them throw your weight around, especially when you're a big Hollywood star. And as it is, Megan, she doesn't have to have her freedom restricted. I know you might say, oh, she's got all the freedom she wants now, married to this terrific older guy, being a terrific stepmom to his boy, his 8-year-old boy, enjoying life and all. Well, it's great that she's got her freedom now, but the thing is, you got to get your freedom when you're a teenager. That's what being a teenager is all about, experiencing freedom, experiencing the real world. It's a very special time in your life. You're going to miss out once those teenagers are gone. What does it matter if you get your freedom later on in life? It's not going to change the past. So that's the thing. You got to get your freedom now while it's good. And it's always great to have freedom later on in life, but you got to start when you're young. Having freedom when you're 24, it's not going to change the past that you didn't have it at, say, 16, 17, whatever. But apparently Megan did have a good amount of freedom. She dated this Ben Leahy guy, even though she supposedly wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. Like I said, I don't know the details. I don't know how accurate these sources are. That was just in Wikipedia where it says she wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. Obviously, such a restriction didn't work. She was dating this Ben fellow for 3 years, this fellow from high school. So there you have it, You're not going to stop teenagers from enjoying freedom and from having boyfriends, and especially teen celebrities. They make big bucks. They'd have no problem doing, moving out and paying their own bills and not depending on their parents. Exactly as it said on my math teacher's wall. Teen celebrities would have no problem doing that whatsoever. And some of them do, and that's great. And that's it for this video.